No. Here's a secret that nobody knows about. Jump over the top and you go into these pipes. You're welcome. Well, hello and welcome back to Greg's Game Room. Today I've got a special treat for you, a list of Nintendo games that are the best ever. Now, this is a list that's undisputed. You cannot dispute this list because I have compiled it from several other lists together. But before we get into the big list, I wanted to talk about 10 games that didn't make the list that are some of my favorites. So let's get started. Number 10 on my list is Gyrus, which is a game created by Ultra, or Konami, back in 1988. It was based on the arcade game, but it's quite a bit different than that arcade. It has slightly bigger enemies, and a super attack, and bosses, and even an ending, which is something unusual for an arcade game. I used to play this game a lot back in the arcades, and it was a real treat to be able to play it on the NES. Definitely a fun game if you like shooters. Number 9 is Willow. Now, I'm not usually one to play a lot of RPG games, but I remember renting this game back in '89 when it came out, and I just couldn't stop playing. I don't know if maybe it's because it was based on a movie, or if because the graphics were really fantastic, or it was more of an action kind of a game rather than a turn-based role-playing game that we see in a lot of other RPGs. This is definitely an underrated classic, or as Metal Jesus would say, a hidden gem. Number 8 is a game called Base Wars. Now, this is a game that's kind of a futuristic baseball game. I was really big into baseball back then. I still am. It was created in 1991 by Ultra, again, Konami. And in this futuristic sports game, which is incredibly fast, actually, for an NES game, you play as robots fighting it out in some kind of a futuristic baseball stadium. If you like fast baseball, then you'll definitely like this game. Number 7 is another arcade classic, Heavy Barrel by Data East from 1990. Now, I would play these kind of action games with my friends all the time. Back in the day, we had a blast playing them. This game in the arcade had kind of a weird controller, and I think it actually works much better here on the NES. It's a lot of fun, and when you get that heavy barrel, man, you just go nuts and try to get as many bad guys as you possibly can. Okay, number 6 is a bit of a cheat because I couldn't decide which one I liked better. It's Castlevania and Castlevania 3. Now, Castlevania came out in 1986, and it's a classic. It's a lot of fun. I love it. But I also acknowledge that Castlevania 3 is a better game. It's got better graphics. There's branching paths, things like that. I'm cheating a little bit by including both of these together. Again, another classic by Konami, and it's a ton of fun. Definitely a game you want to get if you are looking to defeat Dracula for some strange reason. Number 5 is Double Dragon 2, which came out on the NES in 1990 by Technos. It's basically a remake of the original Double Dragon, although this one is quite a bit better, if only because you can play as 2-player. It does have a bit of a weird attack, though. You press left to attack left and right to attack right. It doesn't matter whether it's a kick or a punch. I always get confused as to, which direction I'm attacking. It also has quite a few special moves, too, so yeah, I would recommend Double Dragon 2 for your collection. Number 4 is a rare game, literally, called Pinbot. that was created in 1990, and as you could guess, it's based on a pinball machine of the same name. But this particular game really stretches the boundaries of what a pinball game can do. Not only do you get the multi-ball like any other pinball game, but there's different levels if you can quite hit that ramp at the right time. I wasn't able to do it for this video, but it takes you to different levels and you get to battle different spaceships and ball-munching aliens and weird things like that. So definitely a good, fun, and really underrated game, I think. Number 3 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. From 1990, again, Ultra/Konami has brought us the sequel to the original game, which is quite a bit different from this. This one obviously is based on the arcade game and is really just a action fighter game, kind of like Double Dragon, I guess, but a bit faster and a lot more enemies. Of course, the goal here is to get to the end and defeat Shredder and Krang, which it's really tough to do in this game. And the best way to do it is to do this slash attack. Seems to work for me. If you could just keep doing that slash attack, you'll get to the end of the game. Number 2 is a 1987 Technos game by the name of Super Dodgeball. Now, I rented this game with a friend of mine back in the 80s. He rented it, and I was like, what the heck is this game? This seems ridiculous. But we had the most fun playing this game, throwing the ball, knocking each other out, watching our characters kind of go delirious there. It's such a fun game, and of course the goal here is to battle through several different countries to reach the end to win the entire Super Dodgeball tournament. And the way to do this is to knock out the 3 players in the center as quickly as you can before they knock your guys out. It's such a fun game. Definitely try it. And lastly is a game that I actually beat with 1 life, without any cheats. I still have not been able to do this again, but it is Super Contra, my number 1 favorite NES game of all time. Of course, Super C was a 1990 sequel to the original Contra game, both of them based off of arcade games that are graphically superior, but probably not as much fun, actually. Of course, in the game, your goal is to defeat, I think it's Red Falcon again in the second game. Doesn't really matter, you're just blasting aliens and bad guys and all that good stuff. I have a full review on Super C, so definitely check that out. Alright, now that I've talked about my top 10 favorite games that didn't make this list, we're going to talk about the Undisputed list of NES games. Now what I did is I compiled 11 different sources to come up with the undisputable Nintendo top 10 games list of all time. You want to know what number 10 is? It's DuckTales, the 1989 Capcom game based on the Disney Afternoon classic cartoon. In it, you play Scrooge McDuck bouncing on his cane, trying to save his nephews, I think, and collect jewels. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I never really got into this game too much, but I can't deny its legacy and how popular it has become over the years. So much so that they even did a remake of it. Number 9 is 1987's Final Fantasy by Square. This is an RPG game where you travel the countryside attacking monsters and saving princesses and doing the king's bidding, I guess. As you know, this game has spawned so many sequels. It really is the genesis of the entire Final Fantasy series. If you like RPGs, this has got to be a game in your collection. Number 8 is a little game called Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from 1987. In Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, you play as Little Mac on a quest to defeat the ear-chomping boxer. Of course, they changed that to Mr. Dream. I think that was before the ear-biting. The goal is to defeat these fighters, and the best way to do that is to memorize their patterns. Theoretically, it's a lot easier that way, although, as you can tell from this video, I was defeated by Tyson in record time. If you had to choose between the Mike Tyson version and the Mr. Dream version, go with the Mike Tyson's version. Number 7 is that game straight from the heart of Soviet Russia by the name of Tetris from 1987. Well, that's the Tengen version anyway. Nintendo's version came out a year later and was a little bit more licensed, I guess. Of course, if you haven't played Tetris, well, where have you been living, under a rock? The goal here is to align the pieces properly so that they create lines across the bottom. In my mind, Tetris is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, game of all time. It's simple to learn, difficult to master, easily accessible by anyone. If you had to make a choice, go with the Tengen version. It's a little bit more fun than the Nintendo version. Number 6 is Contra, the 1987 Konami arcade game starring Bill and Lance on their jungle quest to defeat Red Falcon. This, along with Super C, are two of my favorite games of all time. Of course, this is a perfect game if you're into like action movies starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. I kind of feel like these characters were modeled after those guys. Such a fun game, and always remember one thing about Contra: get the spread gun. Number 5 is the debut game of Samus Aran, Metroid, the 1986 space adventure classic by Nintendo. And in it, your game is to stop space pirates from exploiting these Metroids and taking over the galaxy. The goal here, of course, is to stop them and to defeat Mother Brain, which I've never seen. Another classic Nintendo game that you should have in your collection. Number 4 is a game I guarantee that you have. It's the original Super Mario Brothers from 1985. I can't really say anything about this game that hasn't already been said, so I'll just pretend you've never heard about this game before. It's a game where you play as Mario through the Mushroom Kingdom on a quest to save, is it Princess Toadstool or Princess Peach or Princess Pauline? Who cares? Your goal is to get from one end of the screen to the other through the clouds or under the sea or in caves, and it's a brilliant game. I love it. I play it all the time. Now, of course, Mario started in Donkey Kong, and then he later starred in Mario Brothers, but I think this is really the game where he came into his own. So yeah, if you haven't played Mario Brothers, I mean, stop watching this video and just go play it right now. Number 3 is Mega Man 2 from 1988 by Capcom. In this classic game, you play as Mega Man, I guess, and your goal is to defeat Dr. Wily through 8 stages of really difficult action, I guess. You know, I really never got into Mega Man myself, but I understand that this is called the best of all the Mega Man games. Mega Man 2, one of these days I'm going to complete it. Now we get down to the nitty-gritty. Number 1 and number 2. Now, I haven't mentioned either of these two games, so I know in your head you're thinking, it's gotta be one or the other of these two games. Which one's it gonna be? Number 2 is The Legend of Zelda, the 1986 classic from Nintendo, where you play as Link, traveling, adventuring through the land of Hyrule on a quest for the Triforce, through dungeons to defeat Ganon and save Zelda. Now, even someone like me who's not really into RPGs can really appreciate how fun a game like Legend of Zelda actually is. I wouldn't even think about going through this game without some kind of a map or a guide. It's a classic, and it spawned one of Nintendo's biggest properties. They're still making Legend of Zelda games to this very day. Alright, this is it. You know what it is in your head. You figured it out. It's Super Mario Bros. 3 from 1990 Nintendo. In this game, your job is to save Princess Toadstool from Bowser and his Koopa-ings. Of course, here your goal is to travel these different lands, scrolling from left to right in an attempt to find magic wands to save the king, I guess. There's so much more to like about Super Mario 3 than the original Mario Brothers. Let's be honest, this one's got better graphics, more varied levels, more and different power-ups, as well as a map screen to allow you to choose the path of your adventure. So you probably already have this game in your collection, and if you don't, go get it. Go get it right now. It is the greatest game for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Super Mario Bros. 3. Well, there you have it. There is the top 10 undisputed games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. You cannot dispute this list. Don't even try. Don't even leave any comments down below telling me that it's wrong, because this is it. This is the perfect list of top 10 Nintendo games. But if you'd like to talk about my top 10 games that didn't appear on that other top 10 list, the perfect list, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you for watching, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. I don't understand why Scrooge McDuck is on the moon. Was there... I died again? Alright. Where's Super Contra?